some sort of agreement to let them go. But if I'm the Big 12, unless I'm getting most of that money, I'm not letting them go. I'm going to stay and make them play. I'm going to say, here's what I want. I want them and ESPN, as long as I'm in, up S Creek without a paddle, I want them to play the games that they've decided they hate playing at 11 o'clock in the morning. I want Texas and TCU to kick off at 11, and I want TCU to be thrilled that it's 11 o'clock. That's what I want. Like, I want the television thing to come down. Oklahoma, the Bedlam, guess what? Not at 7 p.m. It's going to be 11 a.m. Why? Because guess why? You know why. And do that as long as they can, because clearly that's what they were mad about. And instead of working it, I think that's the thing that the Big 12 is mad about. I think ultimately the Big 12, leaders are not naive enough to think that shakeouts weren't going to happen. It's that they found big issues with the conference, OU and Texas did, and instead of admitting their own role in those issues, one, and two, coming to the league and saying, what do we do to make ourselves better and better position ourselves for the 12-team playoff? They just said, we're done with you guys. That's it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't care. We're moving on. It's over. That's it. You want to move, fine, but at least pretend like you cared about this partnership.
When that game, when when Nebraska Oklahoma came back, which as a Nebraska fan, a lifelong Nebraska fan, I don't know if I want that game coming back. But again, I hated that it ever ended. No matter if there would have been 10 straight Oklahoma wins or not, because everyone beats Nebraska right now. But Joe Castiglione made it pretty clear they were angry. 11 o'clock start with that game. What Fox, though, let's get this right. The CBS SEC, what's their best time slot? Is it 6, 7:30, or is it 2:30?
They usually do the 2:30 kick. That's their.
Didn't ABC always do 2:30 as well? That was their big game too.
Yeah, and now it's moved into prime time. So the 11, Fox is. I think Fox is probably a little incensed by this, because their whole plan this whole time was to make that 11 o'clock kick a good game, or a game that people would want to watch, and so that every time slot, every network has their time slot that maybe they can flourish in. So the 11 o'clock games on the other networks may not be as good as Oklahoma and Nebraska, but they have, that's the best game they have. That's their best window, so they're going to put it there, especially maybe even in that same week where, CBS might have a better marquee SEC game at 2:30, and ESPN ABC might have a better game at 6:30 or 7. In prime time. So, yeah, maybe that was just a decision that they made. Now, I'm not trying to stick up for a behemoth television network. And Oklahoma was mad at Fox for this. They really should have been mad at Nebraska for not being the Nebraska that left the conference and ended the rivalry. That's where they should have been, because Nebraska comes back into this rivalry. And, yeah, it's Oklahoma-Nebraska. It's a classic rivalry. But, Smoaky, Nebraska is not who they were when they left.
No.
So it's, so that's why it's 11 o'clock at Oklahoma, Nebraska has less to do with Fox making that decision, other than Oklahoma should win that game. Right now, if I had to guess, Oklahoma's going to win that game by 35 points.
You think only 35?
I'm trying to be nice here.
That could be. If it ends up okay, they're gonna win the game. The problem with the 11 o'clock starts for Oklahoma doesn't this come into play that getting recruits to Norman is not easy anyway? And then also getting recruits to Norman for home games that they play at 11 o'clock and not 2:30 or 6 or 7:30. And I can see that. Even if you're talking about a place that's...
I would say this, though. If you're having such a hard time getting recruits there, why are you in the top 5 recruiting class every year? So to me, it's hard to get into Norman at 11 o'clock.
Somebody had to say that. There must be something to that, that they want to be able to have the full day to wine and dine the kids.
But that's, to me, saying, equating a stomach ache to, like, oh man, my stomach hurts a bit, to a full on like virus. Like, you don't, like, you're not on the toilet, you're fine. Like, just walk around and get some fresh air and burp a couple times and you'll be all right, as opposed to maybe you need to go see a doctor. Like, that's not like, if it's that much of a headache, then how are you still getting top 5 classes routinely?
Yeah.
Like, it's a minor headache that you've made into this big deal, and you're using that as an excuse. To me, that's just, you know, if they were having like top 15 classes when they could have been having top 5, had they had that, fine. But again, I don't buy it.
Here's an interesting actual